name's Timmy Joe, making videos about computers all on the internet, and today on the program, yeah, we have a freaking mess in front of me, and I'm knee-deep in some crazy CPU cooler testing. Okay, I have a very hot CPU, a 7820X, and it's terrible to keep cool, especially at the overclocks I want to achieve. So I'm taking it into my own hands. We're gonna figure out what's best. But before that, I want to thank Ivacy VPN for sponsoring this video. Ivacy is a amazing VPN service, fast and very, very, very cost effective. They have some seriously great different pricing tiers that you can go ahead and jump into. One of the cheapest, if not the cheapest. Browse the internet securely, keep your data safe. So, thanks to Ivacy VPN for sponsoring the video. Let's jump right into this. So, yes, I have a 7820X. It's impossible to keep cool. I've even deleted it, and now I have lapped it. I lapped it just in case that was a problem, because I actually saw a pretty big variation in some of the cores. So we're running at, it's not the chip's fault anymore. Everything's been taken care of. It's got liquid metal on it, it's been lapped. It's an 8-core, 16-threaded processor, skylake-x, and it's just impossible to keep cool. So I had that Enermax AIO on it, and I've been meaning to do a review on it, but it wasn't really doing so great with this. So I wound up trying the Noctua NH-U12A on it, which is a new amazing cooler. It's not nearly as big as their NH-G15, but it actually can do a bit better than it in a lot of scenarios. And it has their amazing NF-A12 X25 fans on there. These are just amazing fans. They are probably the best in the business. This is probably the best air cooler in the business. So it's a great contender because it's actually seeming like the best candidate here. But we need to test a bunch of different ways. So what I did was I reached out to NZXT, and they actually sent me over a Kraken X72 so we can test an Acoustics 360 mil CLC, okay? That way we can be sure that it's not, that the Enermax one, on liquid sucks, and, maybe other ones are better. We've got two different types here, and this being, one of the most used Acoustics pumps and stuff like that, so it should give us a pretty good idea of, what you should generally expect from a 360 mil rad. And then, the Enermax, and we're pinning it against the air cooler, which is kind of in the lead right now. I'm halfway through the testing, but what I also did was Noctua sent over 6 of the fans. So we can test not only the stock configurations of both these CLCs, but we can put 3 Noctua fans, really good high pressure fans on them, test that way for acoustics and, performance, and then we can add another 3 and do a push-pull on both of these. So we're good to test a lot of things here and see what the best ultimate water cooler configuration is. And I think that's gonna be a lot of work, but it's gonna be a lot of fun, because I want to see what the best solution is. And we're even going to test, it hanging out of the case, it in the case, stuff like that. So let's jump into it. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm tired of screaming at the camera trying to explain what I'm doing. I'm just going to show you some B-roll-y type, montage-y videos, and then we'll jump right into where I end up, because there's a lot of testing ahead of me here, and it should be fun. Woo! right, how's it going, guys? Days worth of testing later, and we're ready to... There's too much stuff on the table. Get that out of the way. Whoops, I messed my mic up. There we go. We're back. Yes, and we have some conclusions made. There's a lot to go over here. I'm going to try and make it quick because I've been working so hard. I want to talk too much about it, and I just did a 25-minute take of this end scene. So basically, get it out of the way. Best air cooler on the market. Yes, the NHD15's a little bit better, but as we'll see, it's not that much better, and it's louder, okay? We have this Enermax here, which is supposed to be a 500-watt TDP, crazy awesome CLC from Enermax. It has a really big pump on it. I had huge expectations. It really wasn't doing well, especially compared to this. I don't know if there's something wrong with that one specifically, but I guess we'll figure it out. And then NZXT was really kind and sent over an Acoustics 360 mil rad CLC, which kind of, you know, puts the spectrum out there. There is, like, they have the market cornered on CLCs. I don't even know how Enermax sells this because there's some patent issue in the States with, you know, putting pumps on blocks, but they get around it or they pay them off somehow. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, let's get to the results. So we'll talk about the acoustics of these things first of all. Let's just actually we'll play them. Of course, I somehow lost the Noctua's soundbite, but here it is. It's running at 2,000 RPM on both fans. The system's on beside it. I can't hear it. And yes, I played that Enermax one at the end there because, oh my god, it's so loud. And that's with the stock fans on it. And every one of the Enermaxes has been pretty loud like that in the high end. All their Threadripper ones, they sound like that. It's always bugged me. I usually end up switching the fans on them. I haven't done it in this thing, in the Threadripper behind me. That has its own whole set of problems. Maybe we'll talk about in another video. But yeah, very, very loud, bearable. You know, and the fans on these are very, very high performance for their lower RPM and not doing too bad. And then the Kraken is silent. It's absolutely silent out of the box, and there's a reason for that because it's actually running in silent mode by default when you can go into the software and change it because the fan and the pump are all controlled by the block. There's like actually circuitry that talks to software. This thing here, you plug it into headers on the motherboard. And, you know, at full blast, it's way too loud, okay? So we can just talk real quick about, obviously, one of these things. One, it's in the box right there, and yeah, we'll just get it out of the way. So pop up here, I ran Cinebench. We're almost getting 5,000 now at 4.8 gigahertz, and the max temperature I got in here, and I closed it, was 97 degrees in Cinebench R20. So we obviously have a winner, the Kraken. Let's talk about how we got there. The NHD15 is pretty much on par with this thing. It can do a little bit better thermally. I have one and I tried to test it, but the one I have is actually for AM4. It's for Ryzen. And when I put it on here, something wasn't making good contact because the thermals were absolutely garbage on it. So I couldn't test with an NHD15. I don't have like a regular version for Intel. But I went over to Optimum Tech. I saw that he compared this. And the only way the Noctua NHD15 does any better, it does a degree and a half better, is with its fans at full RPM, which they're very audible, the NHD15's 140 mil fans at that noise level. So it's just not even a contest. This thing's quiet, cool, collected, within a degree of its big brother. It fits in the computer. You see here me trying to fit the NHD15 in there. The video card wouldn't fit in the top slot. RAM would be a problem. This thing wins as far as I'm concerned. It is the new king. Why didn't I pick a different Acoustics? Well, NZXT got a hold of me and they sent it to me and I didn't have to pay for it. That's why. But if we want to check Gamers Nexus, all of the Acoustics 6 gens are within a couple degrees of each other. This one might be in the middle. So yes, you could get an EVGA or a Corsair that might do like a degree or two better than this thing, but all in all, very solid performance out of this. So it's the perfect sample size. Let's get to the results though. So 4.5 gigahertz I thought was a great baseline to start. It's a overclock that I can hold stable, and instead of putting it stock, where things can fluctuate, hold it at 4.5. All of them can do it, and here's the conclusions. Here we go. NHU12S does pretty decently. It's able to complete all the tests, and the max temperature it gets to is 97 degrees during the classroom blender workload, which is what I used to verify that the overclocks were good. If it can, that'll get the AIOs up to their max temperature and stuff like that, get the fluid temperature up, because it takes about 12 minutes to do that render, 12 or 13 minutes. So that's what I used to, test it. It's a real life workload, and it's a CPU workload. So here we go. We see the Lick-Tech didn't do quite as good. 99 degrees max temp, 100 in Cinebench R20. So something's really wrong there. And then if you go over to the Kraken all the way on the right there, you see that the temperatures are all in the 80s for that. So it's doing way better, and the blender workload, ran the quickest, even though it's all at the same frequency, because there was absolutely no throttling or anything with it, which is very, very good. You see there that I even added 3 and then 6 Noctua fans, which definitely helped with the noise level and actually brought down the temperatures quite a bit. We see here it's able to stay under 90 in Cinebench, and under 100 in, at least 96 there in the blender workload. But is that really a good solution? Should you have to buy a $150 AIO and then buy there's at least $140 worth of fans there to add 6 of them to it? You'd be crazy to do that. It just doesn't make sense, especially when you see the results of the Kraken on the end. So yes, you can fix this thing a little bit by changing the fans up, but you shouldn't have to, and it doesn't even really help that much as far as I'm concerned. Let's move on to 4.7 gigahertz. We see here, now we start seeing some tests fail. So the Noctua can do everything but complete the blender workload at 4.7 gigahertz. So I brought it down to 4.6, and it's able to stay under 101 degrees, or at 101 degrees, and complete the blender workload, but I had to clock it down to do so. Same thing with the Lick-Techs. They both failed at 4.7 gigahertz, even with 6 Noctua fans on them. So something's definitely wrong with this thing, and I think I might have to open it up to find out. We'll leave that for another video, though, or the end of the video, anyways. And we see here that the Kraken was able to do it at 4.7 gigahertz with under 13-minute time on the Blender Classroom workload, and it's still staying at under 90 degrees for all of that. So obviously, the pump and block design on this is so much better that it's just in a whole other class. Because it's doing, it's not competing with this anymore. It's in its own class. So it's pretty good. So we can even go further, right? Well, yes, we can. At 4.8 gigahertz at 1.277 volts, we see here that the Noctua was able to complete the Cinebench workloads. The Lick-Tech can't do any of it. It just fails all of it at 4.8 gigahertz. So with this, I'm actually able to complete Cinebench workloads at 4.8 gigahertz. Not that they're very good. You see that 4610 indicates there was some serious throttling happening in Cinebench R20. When we compare it to the almost 5,000 and 5,000 point scores on the Kraken, and yes, I did add all 6 of the Noctua fans to the Kraken, it improves things by a couple degrees, but it's not actually helping out as much as you'd think it would be. By 2 or 3 degrees, able to complete the blender workload in 12 minutes and 15 seconds. So there's our conclusion. That's why I have the Kraken in here. I actually am doing a push-pull with the stock Corsair fans that came with this case, blowing through to the NZXT fans in the back. I think that's the best way to do it because there is a glass in front of this case that is going to impede a bit of airflow. So having a push-pull on there I think is the best situation. We'll see. I actually end up closing the case here in just a second. But I ran it at 4.9 gigahertz too with the Noctua push-pull situation. And I wasn't able to complete the blender workload. I could complete some of the Cinebench results, but they weren't much better than this. So 4.8 gigahertz seems to be with standard cooling, not exotic or not cooling it with a custom loop. That's as far as I can go with one of the best CLCs out there. So 7820X is just kind of a letdown. I was hoping to get it to 5 gigahertz. It's just not something that'll ever happen. Maybe if you have a golden sample, 7820X, but comparing it to the 9900K really isn't fair. The 9900K can do 5 gigahertz it actually, by stock, will turbo up to that frequency. And I've had one before, and with a 280 mil Gamer Storm AIO, I was able to, when I was doing my testing, keep it at 5 gigahertz and run a bunch of tests. So 7820X is just in its own, like skylake-x is just really hard to cool. So in conclusion, this is what I ended up with. I ran with the case closed with the standard fans that come with the case, and this thing hooked up at 4.5 gigahertz. Those are the temperatures I was getting. And now I'm able, with the push-pull configuration on the Kraken set to performance mode, because all that testing I did was before I installed the software and realized, I was like, man, that thing is quiet. The fans and pump were running in silent mode the whole time, which makes them inaudible, and it was still kicking this thing's ass, like super crazy hardcore. So now that we have the push-pull set up and I can close the case, we see here we can get 120 some points better, 128 points better in Cinebench R15. We can do almost 5,000 in Cinebench R20, and still stay under 100, still stay under throttling, because 105 is throttling on this CPU. And our blender workload gets cut down by like 42 seconds, 41 seconds. So all in all, I figured it out. It was this thing's crap, or something's wrong with it. I think I'm gonna open it up and maybe see if there's some goo floating around in it. I've only had it for a few months. It should be performing better for what it is, because if we check out the numbers on this thing, this is $162 on Amazon. Affiliate links below. Totally recommend it. Definitely. Acoustics stuff is all going to be pretty good, so if you want to buy some other brand. But the NZXT one, I really, really like it. It's cool. It's got some software to control it. It's got that infinity mirror. It's pretty cool. It's not got loads of RGB, but it's there. Moving on. This is $100, so you can save $60 and get near the performance. You won't have a pump that could fail. It's, only got 2 fans on it. It's got a pretty low cost of ownership compared to a CLC, even though it is the most expensive air cooler out there. But this is for certain people, and maybe people, don't even care about the performance. It's just the brown fans that'll turn them off of it. This thing at $100 is totally worth it, in my opinion. It'd be cool if they made black fans, but I can live with it looking like this for the performance that it has. And then the Enermax, I checked on Newegg, and it's the same prices as I'm going to show you here. You see here that it's $165 or $159.99 from other Amazon sellers or whatever, when like more buying options. That's how much it is. It's the same price as this, essentially. It's $160. That's a no-brainer. Don't buy the Enermax. Let's even, just before we get off the table here, it has a way bigger block. It has, it's nice and white. It seems like it's cool. It just does not work anywhere near as good as the Kraken. So we'll put that up here. It's the winner. We'll have to get to the bottom of the Enermax stuff, because my lick-tech on my Threadripper, I've had to turn the overclock. It's just running stock now, because I can no longer maintain an overclock with it. Something's up with it, and I know that there's these videos of goo being put in the lick-techs. Apparently that's just the first generation, according to Enermax. I've talked to them directly about it. I want to open them up for myself, because I have a feeling there's some goo accumulating or something's happening to that lick-tech I've been running for about 8 months now. And this one that's only a few months old doesn't even perform anywhere near as good as the same price CLC from another brand. So let's stop talking about Enermax. I'm just going to say that if you want, Acoustics is the way to go. And the Kraken is a pretty nice, I really like the fans on them. They're super silent. And if you're not going to be overclocking to the 9s, or you have a little bit less of a thirsty CPU, you can run this thing in the silent mode and never hear it. It's awesome. And if you need a non-liquid cooled solution, I definitely suggest the NHU12A. God, there's just too many numbers to remember. And if you need fans, I know that these are bad colors, but they're awesome fans. I think I'm going to load my case up with them too. So all said and done, I can close my case at 4.8 gigahertz and run the blender workload and run Cinebench and game all day long. It's not too loud at all. The loudest fan in this case is actually a Noctua one at the back of the case. While it's running, it's barely audible. And we've foregone conclusion. Enermax, there's something wrong with it, and we'll have to deal with that in another video. I think in another video I'm going to open them both up. I just haven't wanted to take my Threadripper system apart, because it's like, It's my editing workstation. If it's apart, I'm not making any money, so you know. So I'm at Watch Timmy Joe, Instagram and Twitter. I want to thank NZXT for sending this over. It's amazing. I want to thank Noctua for sending this over, and the fans, because they're both amazing solutions in their own right. Sorry to Enermax, but I can't really recommend anything there. And thanks to our sponsor, Privacy VPN. One of the cheapest VPNs out there. Oh, great services. I did a video on it and tested it. You can stream anywhere. You can, make sure your data is private. You can download anonymously. It's all good. So check out Privacy VPN. Links are in the description. I got affiliate links in the description for this stuff too. But I'm done with this. We figured it out. This is my GPU testing rig. It's going to stay like this for a while because I'm tired of fooling around. But yeah, NZXT, Acoustics stuff, miles above any other CLCs. Just don't even bother, which is unfortunate. I really wanted the Enermax one to be as good or better than this thing. Not at that performance. I'll see you guys in another video. Thank you very much for watching. At Watch Timmy Joe, Instagram and Twitter. I got a Patreon and all that stuff as well, thanks to Privacy. I'll see you guys in another video. Hopefully it's less boring than this one.